the letters I've written, the responses I've gotten, what the data that I have shows. The data that I have comes from reports that the agency has filed with the state. So it's not anything that's secret. It's online, and I can give everybody the websites where you can see it. I just input it into spreadsheets and rank the cities against each other to see who's, who looks the most suspicious, I guess. But all the information's available to the public, and I've just done what any of you can do, which is just ask for those documents. But get started early because it's taken me a while. So if anybody's interested, I'm happy to stay and give out some information. I think if there's a place on a table here or there, I can leave some.
And you probably could hand out some.
Sure.
Hand out some applications because I know there are several people who are interested.
Yeah, there is no deadline. The law allows you to go back 10 years to correct problems.
Did you ask the city for that information for that period?
I did.
Good enough.
I did. Yeah. No.
It'll be July next year.
No. I almost. We're just waiting on some things. But yeah, you can go back and correct things for 10 years. But it's also making sure that in the future they're doing things right. And you want to. It can be done in a workable way. So I know times are difficult. The state budget is. The state government wants to balance the budget at the state level on the backs of redevelopment agencies and local governments. They want to grab the agency's money, including allowing them to borrow from the housing fund. So I think it's going to be a challenge to find a way that this, that Chula Vista and other cities can work to comply with the law in a way that's feasible for them in these very difficult times, but also, has them meet their affordable housing obligations. So, yeah, it's challenging, but the choice of inaction is that things kind of go on as they have, and either there's not monitoring or not adequate funding for housing, or and then the community's going to be. I think the redevelopment project areas will be compromised because the requirement for affordable housing is meant to ensure that redevelopment is balanced and viable into the future. So if you attract jobs to project areas, you need that affordable housing stock to be there so that the people that come to fill those jobs, have housing and housing that they can afford, or else the jobs pick up and move elsewhere. So if you want to keep those employers here, you have to have that balance. And I think there's no time like the present to get more of that.
What would you consider a normal percentage of the funds to go to staff?
Unlike laws like CDBG caps admin at 20%. Home, which is another federal program, a more recent one, because CDBG, Community Development Block Grant money, is a long bastardized use of funds. I mean, it's been used for a wide variety of things when it was meant to benefit predominantly low and moderate income. So I don't know that that's any great example. So I'd use that as a bad example, and 20% is what they say is the maximum. The home program, which was adopted in the more recent past, caps admin costs at 10%. When redevelopment was written, the advocates didn't want any percent cap written into the law because they felt that whatever the percent was, and they wanted it to be a small one, that agencies would automatically spend up to that percent, which you can see has happened with CDBG and home. The admin reports on those are 9.98% for home and 19.87% for CDBG. You can see they go right up to that cap. So, and the problem here is that there are a lot of other admin costs that are called project costs. When the developer, and of course they need to be incurred to do the projects, when the developer has their staff working on projects and their attorneys looking over paperwork, those are called project costs. When there's a specific housing project, that's a project cost. But if you're just talking about administering a program and it's not project specific, those are admin costs. So if you look at the full amount of admin costs, it's even greater. So, it's tough to say what will be the model. I think that home would be more the model of 10%, but there is no percent cap. What the law in redevelopment says is that the admin costs have to be necessary for, directly related to, and I love this double negative, not disproportionate to, the amount of housing fund money that is spent on lawful development of affordable housing to people that are income eligible at affordable housing costs, that are deed restricted for that amount of time. So you've got to have a proper housing thing that's done to which you compare the admin costs, and that's not done. What happens is they look at a budget and they say, we've got this much money coming in. Gee, we've got this many staff people. Let's see how many we'll put on the. And I've when I had a suit with Brea, involving Brea, I was surprised to find that 15% of the fire chief's salary was paid from the housing fund. I thought, does he inspect affordable housing 15% of the time, or only put out fires like every third Thursday on the? Yeah, it was pretty much everyone from the city clerk to the fire chief to the city manager gets a bit of their salary paid from the low and moderate income housing fund. Are they working on affordable housing projects? I don't know.
But our CDBG funds, they're a loan. That can pay back, right?
No.
No. They're grant, population-based grant. Yeah.
Well,
I think
we only had one person working half a day there in CDBG.
yeah, but they're probably working more
But
than
they're
that, but
taking
they're charging
20%.
their salary to the low and moderate income housing fund because CDBG caps it at 20%. So there wasn't a cap, and I think the thought was that'll make the use of that money for admin even less, but that was naive, to say the least. And I think what's happened is there are agencies that 100% every year is spent just on staff costs. And I met with the city about it, and their response was, well, when projects are new and starting up, you put more time into the planning, and then later you'll put the money into the buying the land and the development and all that. Well, this city's had redevelopment for decades, and projects have been ongoing, so it's not like the agency's just starting up. They've got projects at all different phases of development, and so that argument kind of doesn't really float.
Can you define what you're talking about, affordable housing? What does that mean to me? It means what a person with a low income could afford.
Right.
And they had something in the paper there, we have some affordable housing, Chula Vista, for people who make less than 50,000. Well, that didn't sound like affordable housing to me.
Well, it's an excellent point, and you make it better than I could say it, which is, it is relative. When people in the housing industry or the planning milieu talk about affordable housing, they really are talking about housing that is affordable to all income levels, which is very low, and even, my clients are extremely low income, extremely low, very low income, low, moderate, and above moderate. So you don't want those multimillionaires paying too much of their disposable income on their 7th vacation home. You still want them to be able to afford it. So yeah, for my purposes as a legal services attorney, my focus is on extremely low income people who make at or near minimum wage and what is affordable to them. That is, I'm talking about the truly affordable housing. It is true that when you hear these figures, you're thinking, good gracious, can't those people afford housing on their own? Well, we know these days that they tried to do that with zero down and interest-only loans, and look what happened. So it's a tough, it's been a tough market for a long time, and I think it'll continue to be, but my focus is on the extremely low income.